I've always been careful with dating apps. No last names, no workplace details, no photos that could give away where I live. So when Leah matched with me, I thought nothing of it. Her profile was simple, a few selfies, a bio that just said, looking for something real. We chatted for a week before agreeing to meet. She was witty, sharp, easy to talk to. She had this way of asking me questions that felt like she actually wanted to know me, not just surface level stuff, but deeper things. Favorite childhood memory, worst fear, the kind of scars no one else bothered to ask about. I didn't realize until later how much she was cataloging. We agreed on a neutral spot, a diner off the highway, public, safe. But the moment she slid into the booth across from me, something was off. Not her looks. She was exactly like her photos. Blonde hair tied back, pale skin, a little scar under her lip. No, what unsettled me was the way she looked at me. Not curious, not nervous, like she already knew me. Her first words weren't hi or nice to finally meet you. They were, so how's Maple Street? I froze. The fork slipped from my hand and clattered against the plate. Maple Street, that's where I lived. I had never told her. I laughed it off, stammering something about how she must have mixed me up with someone else. But she just smiled, tilting her head like a cat watching a trapped bird. No, that's right, she said. Maple Street, the little blue house, 2 windows by the porch. Your bedroom's the one on the left, isn't it? My throat went dry. How do you? She reached across the table and touched my wrist. Her fingers were cold, too cold for the warmth of the diner. I pay attention, she whispered. The rest of the date was a blur. I barely ate. She asked me more questions, or maybe they weren't questions at all. They were statements, and all of them about me. My high school, my old dog, the color of my sheets. Things I had never posted. Things I had never told her. Every time I demanded to know how she knew, she just smiled. You let me in, she'd say. That's enough. When the check came, she slid it toward me. I'll see you soon. And then she left. Not toward the door. Toward the back. I got up to follow, but by the time I reached the hall, she was gone. No one had seen her leave. Driving home, I kept checking my mirrors. Every set of headlights looked like hers. Every dark corner held her shape. When I pulled into my driveway, the porch light flickered, and taped to the front door was a Polaroid of me sitting in the diner booth, taken from just a few feet away. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the house made me jump. Every shadow in the window looked like her face. At 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Did you lock the back door? My blood ran cold. I crept through the house, bat in hand, checking locks, checking windows. Everything was shut. Then another message. Good. I stared at the screen until the battery died, too afraid to move. The next morning, I tried reporting her profile, but when I opened the app, she was gone, not unmatched, deleted, as if she'd never existed. But the Polaroid was real. It sat on my kitchen counter, grinning at me like a hound. And that night, another photo appeared. This one slid under my front door. Me, sleeping. I didn't remember falling asleep. I was sure I hadn't, but the photo proved otherwise. There I was, sprawled across my bed, mouth open, sheets tangled. The photo had been taken from the corner of the room. The angle only possible if someone had been inside. I tore through the house, every door locked, every window sealed. Nothing disturbed. But when I came back, the photo was gone. I couldn't stay there. I packed a bag and drove to a motel on the edge of town. Paid cash. No ID. Checked the locks 3 times before crawling into bed. And yet at 3:13 a.m., there was a knock on the door. Not loud, not frantic, just 3 steady raps. I froze, holding my breath. Then her voice. Open up. You don't want to be rude, do you? I didn't move. You let me in once already. Do you remember? The peephole showed nothing but an empty hall. Still, her voice pressed against the door. Let me back in. The knob rattled. I shoved the dresser against the door and sat up the rest of the night, clutching the motel's flimsy lamp like it would save me. The next day, I bought a new phone, new number, deleted all my apps. But when I turned it on, one message was already waiting. Miss me? Attached was another photo, not of me, of my mother's house. I sped there, heart jackhammering. She was fine, confused by my panic, but fine, until she showed me what she'd found in her mailbox that morning. A Polaroid of her, taken while she slept. I begged her to stay with friends. She agreed reluctantly. I drove her there myself. But as I pulled out of their driveway, I noticed something tucked under my windshield wiper. Another photo. Me, sitting in the driver's seat. The picture had been taken seconds ago. That night, I tried something desperate. I set up cameras around my house, covering every angle. If she came back, I'd catch her. At 3 a.m., the feed glitched. Static rolled across every screen. When the picture cleared, she was there, not just in one camera, in all of them, standing in the same place in each shot, though the angles were different, always smiling, always watching. Her lips moved, though no sound came through speakers. I read the words anyway. You invited me in. I fled. No plan, no destination. Just highways and dark stretches of road. I drove until exhaustion blurred my vision, then pulled into a rest stop. I woke to tapping on the window. Her face, plexiglass, smiling wide, eyes black as oil. I floored it, tires screaming, and didn't look back. It's been weeks now. I don't go home. I don't sleep in the same place twice. But no matter where I run, she finds me. Sometimes it's a Polaroid slipped under a door. Sometimes it's her voice and the static of a motel TV. Sometimes it's just a feeling of eyes on me. Too heavy to ignore. I don't know what she is. Not a woman. Not human. But she knows me. Every detail. Every secret. And she keeps reminding me. I let her in. That was all it took. Story 2. She said we'd met before. I only agreed to meet her because she seemed so normal. Her profile wasn't flashy. No bikini shots, no fake-looking filters. Just a warm smile, brown hair tucked behind her ear, and a caption that read, "Looking for someone familiar." We messaged for a few days. Nothing unusual. She joked about bad dates, asked about my job, even shared a few pictures of her dog. Totally ordinary. So when she suggested meeting at a quiet coffee shop, I didn't hesitate. I walked in and spotted her instantly. She was prettier than her pictures. Pale skin, green eyes, a small scar near her jawline. She waved like we'd been friends forever. "You look exactly the same," she said when I sat down. I laughed nervously. "Same as my photos, you mean?" "No," she said, smiling softly. "Same as when we met before." I blinked. "We've never met." Her smile didn't waver. "Of course we have. You just don't remember yet." I tried to laugh it off, but something in her tone made my stomach tighten. She stirred her coffee, eyes locked on mine. "You used to live on Oakwood Drive, right? Near the elementary school." I froze. "Yes," I admitted slowly. "When I was a kid." "How you know that?" "I was there too," she said simply. "Next door, in the house with the red shutters. We used to play together. You don't remember?" My head spun. That house had burned down when I was 7. Nobody survived. Nobody lived there. I said firmly, I would have remembered. She leaned closer, her voice dropping. "You did remember. You just tried to forget." I left money on the table and stood to leave, muttering an excuse. But she caught my wrist. Her hand was ice cold. "I'll see you soon," she said. Not a question, a promise. I yanked free and hurried out. But when I reached my car, something was waiting on the windshield. A Polaroid of me at 7 years old, standing in my old yard, holding her hand. I didn't sleep that night. Every memory I'd buried came clawing back. I had played in that yard. I had talked to someone through the fence. But I'd always told myself it was an imaginary friend, a coping mechanism for being lonely. Now I wasn't so sure. The next day, I drove past Oakwood Drive. The lot where the house had stood was empty, overgrown with weeds. But as I slowed, I saw her, standing on the cracked foundation, smiling. She waved, and in her other hand, she held another Polaroid. I didn't stop. I didn't even breathe until I was miles away. That night, the knocking started, soft at first, then louder, at my apartment door. I crept close, heart hammering, and listened. Her voice, sweet and familiar, drifted through. "Let me in. You don't have to be afraid. We used to be so close." I whispered through the door, "What do you want?" Silence. Then, slowly the answer, "To come home." I pressed my back against the door, heart pounding so hard I could barely hear. "On the other side," she whispered again, her tone so soft it almost sounded tender. "You don't remember how much fun we had? The games? The hiding places? You promised we'd never be apart." I squeezed my eyes shut. "You're not real." The silence that followed was worse than the knocking. Then came the scratching. Long, deliberate drags across the wood. Not fingernails. Something sharper. When I finally worked up the courage to look through the peephole, the hallway was empty, but taped to the door was another Polaroid. Me, crouched at the peephole, taken seconds ago. I barely slept. Every time my eyes drifted shut, I dreamed of fire. The red-shuttered house, engulfed in flames. Screams muffled by smoke. And in the flames, a figure. Her, watching me, smiling. The next morning, I woke to the smell of smoke in my apartment. I tore through every room, but there was nothing burning. Just a faint, acrid scent of charred wood. And on my kitchen counter, another Polaroid. The red-shuttered house, burning. And in the flames, a child silhouette holding hands with something taller, darker. I started losing time after that. Blackouts, hours disappearing. Once, I came to my car parked outside Oakwood Drive, engine running, hands blistered like I'd been near fire. Another time, I woke in my apartment with ash on my clothes. And always, waiting nearby, another Polaroid. Each one closer. Each one of me. I tried telling a friend. I showed him the photos, begged him to believe me. He frowned, flipping through them. "These are old," he said. "The film stock isn't even made anymore. Where'd you find these?" I didn't answer, because on the last photo, barely visible in the background, she was there, smiling at the camera, smiling at him. The final night came with no warning. I woke to heat pressing against my skin, the air thick with smoke. My apartment filled with it, choking, suffocating. Through the haze, I saw her, standing in the doorway, untouched by the flames, smiling that same soft smile. "It's time," she said. "You left me in the fire once. Don't do it again." The walls glowed orange. The floorboards cracked. I stumbled toward her, coughing, desperate for air. But when I reached out, my hand passed through her like mist. She leaned close, whispering into my ear, "You'll remember soon." And then everything went black. I woke outside. No burns, no smoke, just lying in the grass by the foundation of Oakwood Drive. The lot was cold, empty, but in my hand, clutched so tight my knuckles ached, was one last Polaroid. Me, as a child, holding her hand in the flames, smiling. Story 3. The door was already unlocked. Dating apps have always made me uneasy, but loneliness does strange things. After weeks of swiping through blank stares and half-hearted bios, I found her. Marissa. Her profile was minimal. No filters, no clutter. Just a single photo, pale skin, jet black hair draped over one shoulder, eyes so dark they seemed almost bottomless. Her bio read, "I already know what you're looking for." Something about it hooked me. We messaged late into the night. Her replies instant, almost too instant. She asked about things most people skim over. My apartment, my favorite chair, whether I slept with the light on or off. I brushed it off as quirky interest. When she suggested meeting at my place, I hesitated, but she pushed gently, saying she hated bars, hated crowds, hated being anywhere that wasn't private. Against my better judgment, I gave her my address. She didn't knock. When I got home from work that night, she was already inside. I froze in the doorway, keys slipping from my hand. She was sitting on my couch like she belonged there, her black hair veiling half her face. "How did you—" "The door was already unlocked," she said calmly, folding her hands in her lap. My stomach dropped. I was sure I had locked it that morning. I always locked it. "I hope you don't mind," she added, smiling faintly. "I wanted to see if this place was as cozy as you described." I hadn't described it. Not once. Part of me wanted to call the cops, but another part couldn't move, couldn't stop staring. There was something about her presence, heavy and magnetic, that pinned me in place. She patted the couch. "Come sit with me." My legs obeyed before my brain caught up. She leaned close enough for her hair to brush my cheek. "You live so simply. No one else here. No pets. No visitors. Just you." Her voice was soft, but every word made my skin crawl. "You like to sit by the window when it rains, don't you?" she asked. "Yes," I whispered, before realizing I'd never told her that. She smiled wider. "I know you better than anyone." I tried to regain control, forcing a laugh. "All right, this is creepy. How do you know all this?" She tilted her head, her hair falling away from her face. That's when I saw her eyes properly for the first time. They weren't black. They were empty, a hollow, shifting gray, like the color of ash drifting in smoke. "I've always known," she said. "That's why I came back." I jumped to my feet, fumbling for my phone, but it wasn't in my pocket. It was in her hand. She held it out casually, as though it had always belonged to her. "Looking for this?" My throat closed. "Give it back." She slipped it into her dress pocket, smiling. "Later. Right now, you should check your bedroom." I shook my head. "Why?" Her smile never faltered. "Because I already left you something." Every instinct screamed to run, but I couldn't. My legs carried me down the hall, one step at a time, heart slamming against my ribs. When I pushed the bedroom door open, I stopped cold. On my bed, perfectly laid out across the sheets, were dozens of Polaroids. All of me, sleeping, eating, showering, each one taken from inside my apartment. I staggered back while burning my throat, and from the living room came her voice, sing-song, almost playful. "I told you, I already know you." I wanted to run, but my body felt nailed to the floor. The photos stared back at me, hundreds of frozen versions of myself. Proof that she had been here long before tonight. I forced my voice out, cracked and shaking. "How long have you been watching me?" From the living room, her answer floated back, almost amused. "Since before you knew what watching meant." I stumbled back down the hall, every step heavier than the last. She was still sitting on the couch, posture perfect, black hair spilling like ink across her shoulders. My phone was gone from her pocket. I didn't even see her move. "It's funny," she murmured. "You thought you invited me tonight. But really, I've always been here, waiting for you to notice." Her head tilted. "And now you have." I lunged to the door, yanking at the handle. It didn't budge. The lock was gone. Not locked, gone. Just a smooth metal surface where the mechanism should have been. She laughed softly, the sound so wrong in my apartment. "Why would you want to leave home? You've made it so comfortable for us." I turned back, rage clawing through my fear. "Get out. Get the hell out of my house." Her smile faltered for the first time. The air thickened, pressing against my chest like a weight. Her voice dropped to a whisper, sharp as glass. "This isn't your house." The lights flickered. The walls shifted. My living room stretched impossibly long, the corners melting into darkness. My photos, the Polaroids, flooded up from the bed and drifted into the hall, plastering themselves along the walls, the ceiling, the floor. Everywhere I looked, my own face staring back. Marissa stood now, taller somehow, her hair writhing like it was alive. Her ash-colored eyes burned into me. "You built this place with me. You filled it with your little habits, your lonely routines, your secrets. But it was never just yours." She spread her arms, and the air grew hotter, heavier. It's ours. I bolted into the kitchen, grabbed the biggest knife I could find, and turned on her. My hand shook so badly I almost dropped it. Stay away from me. Her laugh was low and hollow. You think that matters? I swung anyway, slashing at her as she drifted closer. The blade cut through her like smoke. No resistance, no blood, but she still recoiled, her smile faltering. You shouldn't have done that, she hissed. The temperature dropped instantly. Frost spread across the windows, the air burning with cold. My breath came out in clouds. And then she was gone. I stood there, knife in hand, surrounded by silence. No photos, no smoke. Just my apartment, empty again. I almost convinced myself I dreamed it, until I saw my phone lying on the counter. One new photo. Me, holding the knife. And behind me, her face pressed against the window glass, smiling. I don't sleep anymore. I can't. Every time I close my eyes, I hear the soft creak of my front door opening, feel the air shift as if someone's walking past me. Sometimes when I glance at the window, I see her reflection instead of mine. Sometimes when I unlock my phone, new photos appear in my gallery. Photos of me in moments I don't remember. Sometimes the door really is unlocked when I know I locked it. And every time I leave, I find myself asking the same question when I return. Not did I lock the door, but what if she never left? Because deep down I know the truth. The door was already unlocked. Because it was never mine to lock in the first place.